Two professionals gave presentations on the same day. Both were equally nervous before starting. One stumbled through, visibly uncomfortable, losing their audience within minutes. The other delivered a compelling talk that people remembered weeks later. The difference, not their natural confidence levels. Both were genuinely nervous. The difference was in specific techniques they used to channel their nervousness into powerful presets. Today, I'm sharing the exact methods that transform anxiety into authentic confidence, even when your heart is racing. But let's first address the biggest myth about confident speakers. They don't get nervous. After working with hundreds of professionals, from CEOs to TEDx speakers, I can tell you with certainty, everyone gets nervous. The people who appear most confident aren't free from anxiety. They've just learned how to use it differently. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how they do it, because we all get nervous. I get nervous, you get nervous, everybody gets nervous. I'm going to share 5 practical techniques that instantly boost your speaking confidence. The first one, kind of counterintuitive, and most people resist it until they experience how it dramatically changes how they come across to others. The first technique is what we call reframe method. Most of us try to calm down when we are nervous about speaking. We tell ourselves, relax, it's going to be fine. But research from Harvard University shows this approach actually backfires. Let me show you what Sarah did differently before a high-stake client presentation. Instead of trying to calm her nerves, she deliberately told herself, I'm excited about this opportunity to share those ideas. She didn't just think this, she actually said it out loud several times before walking into the room. She still felt the racing heart and butterflies, but these sensations no longer felt debilitating. They felt energizing. They are there, you say to them, I know those feelings, you're there, but I'm fine. Here's why this works so well. The physical symptoms of anxiety and excitement are almost identical. Increased heart rate, faster breathing, heightened alertness. The only difference is how your brain interprets these sensations. When you try to jump from anxiety to calmness, you're asking your body to make a big physiological shift that's nearly impossible in a high-pressure situation. Imagine seeing your boss sitting in front of you and trying to do that. But shifting from anxiety to excitement is a much smaller step, since your body is already in a similar state. Here's how to use reframe method. When you notice nervous feelings before speaking, say out loud, I am excited about this opportunity. Don't try to eliminate the physical sensations, just relabel them as helpful. A secret, I do this even when I'm flying and I feel nervous. Focus on what you're looking forward to sharing, not what might go wrong. This simple shift in perspective doesn't just make you feel better, it actually changes how others perceive you. When Sarah used this technique, a client later commented on her infectious enthusiasm, not knowing she had been extremely nervous. The reframe method helps manage the feelings of nervousness, but what about those moments when your mind goes blank or you lose track of what you're saying? That's where our second technique comes in. The second technique is power pause. I know a client of mine once froze on the stage, and this is what I taught her. Here's a scenario that terrifies most speakers. You're in the middle of making an important point and suddenly your mind goes blank. You panic, you start rambling or awkwardly apologize, all of which undermines your credibility. Let me show you what Michael did differently during the board presentation when he had a momentarily lost his train of thought. Instead of showing panic, he deliberately paused, took a calm breath, and then said, let me make sure I'm being clear about the most important aspect of this. This brief moment allowed his mind to reset, and he continued with greater clarity than before. What could have been an awkward stumble became a powerful emphasis on his key point. Here's how to use power pause. When you lose your place or feel flustered, intentionally pause. Take a slow, deliberate breath, maintain composed facial expression and body language. Use a bridging phrase like, the key point to understand is, or what's most important here is. This technique works because what feels like an eternity of silence to you is actually perceived as thoughtfulness by your audience. Research shows that speakers who use deliberate pauses are rated as more confident, more credible, and more composed than those who rush through their material with absolutely no break. The power pause isn't just for when things go wrong. It's a technique that elevates your everyday communication by creating space for most important points to land. But here's a third technique that addresses one of the biggest confidence killer in public speaking, and it happens before you say even the first word, a single word. The third technique is the arrival moment. Most speakers rush into their presentations beginning to speak while still settling in or adjusting their material. This creates an immediate impression of nervousness or lack of command. You're trying to distract yourself from what is most important. Let me show you what Jennifer did differently at a department meeting. When it was her turn to present, she stood, walked deliberately to the front of the room, took a moment to make an eye contact with a few people, and only then began speaking. Those few seconds composed presence of hers completely changed how her colleagues responded to her message. One team member later said, something was different about your presentation today. You seemed so much more authoritative. Here's how to create your own arrival moment. Move to your speaking position without rushing. Plant your feet firmly, standing tall with your shoulders back. Take a deep breath and scan the room, making brief eye contact. Count 1, 2, 3 seconds of silence before you begin speaking. This brief ritual does two important things. It gives you a moment to center yourself, and it signals to your audience that something important is about to happen. You're in control. The physical act of taking up space confidently actually triggers changes in your body chemistry, reducing stress hormones and increasing confidence-building hormones. The arrival moment works in virtual meetings too. Instead of jumping straight into speaking when it's your turn, pause for a moment, sit up straight, look directly into the camera, and then begin. This small shift makes a remarkable difference in how others perceive your confidence level. These first 3 techniques help you manage your internal state and create a strong first impression. But what about throughout your presentation or talk? That's where the 4th technique makes all the difference. The 4th technique is connection anchoring. One of the biggest causes of speaking anxiety is excessive self-focus, worrying about how you look, sound, or whether you make a mistake. This creates a negative spiral where anxiety makes you more self-conscious, which then increases your anxiety further. Let me show you what David did to break this cycle during an important client pitch. Instead of focusing on his own performance, he deliberately focused on connection with specific people in the room. Before the meeting, he reminded himself, my job isn't to be perfect. It is to help these specific people solve their specific problem. During his presentation, whenever he felt nervousness rising, he would make an eye contact with someone and direct his explanation to them personally for a few moments. Don't worry about what you're going to say, worry about what they're going to say. The result for David was remarkable. Not only did his anxiety decrease, but clients commented on how engaged and attentive he was to their needs, never realizing this approach was actually helping him manage his own nervousness. Here's how to use connection anchoring before speaking. Remind yourself that your purpose is to serve this specific audience. Instead of thinking about yourself, focus on connection with the individual, the people that you seek to serve. When nervousness increases, Deliberately make eye contact and speak directly to one person for a moment. That person is someone like your friend, it's even better. Think of your presentation as a series of mini conversations rather than a performance. This technique works because it's nearly impossible to be self-conscious and other-focused at the same time. But deliberately shifting your attention to connecting with some specific people, you interrupt the anxiety cycle and come across as more authentic and engaged. To the fifth and the final technique, which is what we call preparation, that actually helps. Most people prepare for important talks by trying to memorize exactly what they'll say. This approach actually increases anxiety because any deviation feels like a failure. You want to be not a storyteller, but a script reader. It also tends to make delivery sound robotic rather than natural. Let me show you the different approach Elena used when preparing for her keynote speech. Instead of memorizing a script, she created a clear structure with just 3 to 5 main points. Practice the transitions between these points until they felt really natural to her. Prepared a strong opening and closing, word for word. For the rest, focused on conversational mastery of her content rather than the exact words she was going to use. This approach gave her the security of knowing where she was going without the pressure of having to remember exact phrases for every point. Here's how to implement preparation that actually helps. Know your opening and closing word by word. Be crystal clear on 3 to 5 key points, definitely not 10 to 15 points. Practice the transitions between the points until they flow naturally. For everything else, focus on a conversational knowledge of your material, not exact wordings. This approach works because it gives you the right balance of structure and flexibility. You know exactly where you're going, but you have room to adapt to the room and respond to the audience's reaction and speak naturally rather than reciting a memorized text. Let me show you how these 5 techniques work together in a real-life situation. Imagine you're giving an important presentation to senior leadership team. Before you talk, use the reframe method. I'm excited to share these insights that could help your department. Prepare effectively with a clear structure, strong opening, and mastery of your key points. As you begin, create an arrival moment by taking your position, pausing, making an eye contact, and then starting. During your presentation, use connection anchoring by focusing on helping specific people in the room understand your message. When you need a moment to collect your thoughts or emphasize a point, use the power pause. When my client Michael used these techniques for his board presentation, he told me afterward, for the first time, I actually felt present during my talk instead of just trying to survive it. I could tell the board was more engaged than even before. Remember the key principles about speaking with confidence. Nervous energy can be channeled into positive excitement. Strategic pauses create authority, not awkwardness. How you begin sets the tone for your entire presentation. Focusing on connection reduces self-consciousness. The right kind of preparation creates both structure and flexibility. But here's what makes these techniques truly powerful. The greatest speakers aren't the ones who never get nervous. They're the ones who use their nervous energy to create authentic connection and deliver messages that matter. These techniques aren't about pretending to be confident. They're about channeling the natural energy of the moment into a genuine impact. Your nervousness isn't a weakness to overcome. It's a sign that you care about communicating well. When you apply these techniques, you transform that care into presence that others can feel. Which of these techniques will you try in your next presentation or important conversation? Share in the comments below. I'd love to help you apply these principles to your specific situation. And if you want more strategies for impactful communication, hit that subscribe button. In the coming videos, I'll share how to structure your message so people remember it long after you finish speaking. Till then, stay storied.